As the popularity and market of movies and animated videos rise, the demand for more animators has been higher than ever and is only going to rise in the future. Without these animators, movies wouldn't have the special effects that make you sit on the edge of your seat, the special effects that seem impossible to the human eye. Like how Spider-Man swings from building to building, or how I can just motion track a Canadian flag in my right hand and insert a glass on my left hand. The use of these special effects in films are called CGI, which stands for computer-generated imagery, which augment the realism in films like Spider-Man. Or on the other hand, there are films where every part of them are animated, like Despicable Me and Frozen. They still implement some realism into the films, like walking. Something simple as movement can change your impression of the character, such as in Despicable Me. The first scene of the three girls, Margot acts more grown-up than the rest of the girls, and Agnes is so-called comic relief of the film. Aside from how important it is, this is what an animator does with an idea to create an awe-inspiring finished film. When a large corporate or an individual is in the process of working on a movie, there are many stages of working on a movie. The first bundle of steps is pre-production. It consists of creating a storyboard, layout, model sheets, and animatics. After an idea has been created, the storyboard is basically the instructions of creating the movie. It contains drawings in a comic-style layout. It helps visualize the animation and to communicate ideas clearly. After the storyboard is approved, they are sent to the layout team, which works closely with the director to design the characters, locations, costumes, and camera angles and movements. When the layout team polishes the storyboard, the model sheets and the animatics are created. The model sheets are what the character and the other objects look like. They are basically the individual blueprints of the individual characters and the background. The animatics are created for effect-heavy scenes. These animatics are basically the templates of the effects. Now that the storyboard has been approved, the project enters the production phase. It's here that the actual work can start, based on guidelines established during pre-production. Some major parts are layout, modeling, texturing, lighting, rigging, and animation. Layout artist is responsible for composing the shot and delivering rough animation to the animators as a guide. During this stage, the director approves camera moves, depth of field, and composition of the models making up the set and the set dressing. It is then the responsibility of the modeling department to deliver these approved set, prop, and character models in the final layout stages. The modeling happens after the layout is approved by the director. The modeling stage is essentially putting things in 3D. The modeling artist sculpts the images that the layout artist made and forms individual objects with more attention to detail. The modeling artist also decides on the material of different objects. For example, a desk will react differently from a ball if thrown out a window. The desk will have to be built with a less elastic material. A skeleton is also created in the stage for the rigging process. Once the models are approved, they are sent to the rigging and the texture paint department, who completes the final stages in preparing the model for animation and rendering. The texturing artists are responsible for writing shaders and painting textures as per the scene requirements. As the texturing artists are working on the textures, the lighting artists are hard at work on a broad range of tasks, including placing lights, defining light properties, defining how light interacts with different types of materials, the qualities and complexities of realistic textures involved, how the position and intensity of lights affect mood and believability, as well as color theory and harmony. Next is the rigging process. The rigging department essentially brings life to the model by applying a rig that can move any bone in the object. After rigs have been applied to the individual objects, the animators bring a model to life. By painstakingly adjusting the rig every frame of the video, the animators move each bone in the skeleton for movement. Just for context, each frame for a typical feature film is 1/24th of a second, which, in that timestamp, the animators will have to move every bone in the skeleton of an object. Since a typical feature film is around 100 minutes, there are 144,000 frames in a movie. Post-production is the third and final step in a film creation. The process of post-production includes the editing of raw footage to cut scenes together, inserting transitional effects, working with voice and sound actors, and it is at that stage that any unwanted footage and scenes are removed. The sound editor is responsible for selecting and assembling the sound recordings in preparation for the final sound mix, ensuring lip sync and adding all of the sound effects required for the final film. The compositing department puts everything together. For context, it is essentially putting multiple layers of a Photoshop image together and exporting it. They also apply the lighting scripts and the shaders that the lighting artist produced to the 3D objects. After the final film is complete, marketing department sends it to a reviewer under an NDA policy to examine the film to decide if a scene should go or stay. Usually this process gets the passing grade, but at times, the director could not have realized how much an audience may despise a certain scene. A typical day for an animator could be completing any of the tasks of producing an animated film. However, the animator is usually working on a computer with applications from Photoshop to produce the models, to Cinema 4D for creating the models, or from Autodesk Maya for simulation and fluid dynamics, to Autodesk Inventor for simulating how different materials will react under different circumstances. There are countless jobs that are required for completing an animated feature film, and you could be one of them.